All aboard, friends. The next stop is the summit. Today is May 8th. I'm Ben Ayers. This is your daily dispatch coming to you from Everest Base Camp for Everest Live. There's got a lot going on. We got a lot to cover today. Basically, the big news is the rope fixing team put forward by Seven Summits Treks. They pushed through pretty bad weather from Camp 3 all the way up past the yellow band. And the last I heard is they're making their way up to the South Col, Camp 4, which is their goal for today. If they're able to fix the rope there, which everything seems likely that they will, they'll return down to rest. And when they're ready to go again, the next stop is going to be all the way to the summit. So everyone in the base camp, all 2,500 of us, are aware of this. And there's many teams that are actually already heading up the mountain or are going to be heading up the mountain tonight and the next day to position themselves to kind of follow in the slipstream behind the rope fixing teams and to get to the summit as early as possible. To me, that's an interesting strategy. It's going to be, we'll see what happens. I don't think there's enough of these climbers to create like massive chaos, apocalypse, traffic jams. But the big determiner is going to be the weather. The rope fixing teams are super strong. They're able to push through in marginal weather. Paying clients might be in a different position. That's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Looking at the weather report today, checking it all. It's less sucky than yesterday, but not completely unsucky. The typhoon that we looked at in the Bay of Bengal looks like that sort of system is receding a little bit. We're not out of danger, but it's heading in the right direction. But basically, we're also looking at snow for the next couple days. On the 11th, I think that's Sunday or Monday, we're going to have a nice day, and then things get kind of cloudy again. It's going to be after that break on the 11th that realistically we'll see some summits. When that's going to happen, I think it's too early to tell. We'll know more in the next couple days as the weather reports kind of hone in on what's actually going to happen with this weird sort of ultra humid weather pattern where the wind is coming from the north, which is strange. Usually you see and you want the wind to be coming from the west. So we'll see how that all plays out. What's happening too with many clients who haven't come down from their rotations or are coming down right now is, different teams now have a choice. Are they going to go up and sort of hang out in Camp 2, which isn't a ton of fun, but it gives you a position to be right behind the rope fixing team, get that first summit window, pack up and go home? Or other teams that are sort of bargaining on waiting for a weather window later in the season. And we've talked about this basically since we started reporting. Generally, you see this first wave of impatient climbers and then things chill out a little bit in the weeks following. Those teams, many of them are going to go on what's called an oxygen holiday. Andy and I wish we could go on an oxygen holiday. Everyone here in the Arnold Koster camp, they're going to go down to Namche Bazaar, and they're going to spend a couple days in the thicker air of lower elevation, letting their bodies recover, eating good food, trying to rebuild their strength and stamina, because it's, the altitude of Everest Base Camp, it's really, really difficult for your body to recover, to get healthy, to build muscles. And so going down even just like a couple hundred meters or few thousand meters makes a really big difference in terms of how your body's going to perform. After that oxygen holiday, that second wave of climbers will come up and make their bid for the summit. Other good news, we have official confirmation that airlift technology, the system that's operating the heavy lift drones, which had their permits pulled earlier this season, have had their permits reinstated, and tomorrow they're going to be flying goods back up to Camp 1 again. We're going to be with them for the first flight, so tune in tomorrow to get some cool imagery and an update on how that really cool life-saving drone technology works on the mountain. We're going to do a deep dive on that tomorrow. And let me see, what else have we got? I think that's pretty much it for my daily dispatch. However, I did want to spend a minute talking about, there's a part of me that's just, you see, the more we've gotten into this season, of course, we're reading the comments, we're seeing how people are reacting to different posts and sort of how the world many people in the world see Mount Everest. And so over the next few weeks, one at a time, we're going to take different Everest myths and try to break them down and explain what the reality is up here. So today I'm going to just talk for a few seconds about Everest myth number one, which is Everest is full of really rich people that are going on sort of a luxury vacation and are paying Sherpas to drag them to the summit. This totally isn't true. Yes, there are definitely rich people here. Like, there are people from every section of the economic spectrum climbing on Mount Everest. The ultra wealthy who are, having bottle service at base camp are the vast, vast minority of climbers. Even just from where I'm standing, looking around across Everest Base Camp, I see all different types of camps that are reflecting to all different sets of budgets. Right above me, there's a women's Everest expedition for the Indian Army. There's a group of these elite Indian Army women. These are young women in their 20s that are being paid by the Indian government is sending them up Mount Everest to train. These young women, they're not wealthy as we would think about it. Yesterday, we interviewed a woman from America. Her name was Nicole Santiago. We'll do a little, deep dive on her. We did an interview with her yesterday. And so Nicole, she's a flight attendant in America. She had a dream to become the first Puerto Rican woman to climb Mount Everest, and she's been training for a year. For her to get up on the mountain, she raised money from anybody and everybody, every source that she could find, including spending her own savings. This afternoon, we interviewed this woman, and it was one of the most sort of moving interviews that I've participated in recent memory. And it was the young woman named River. She changed her name to River when she fled the Taliban in Afghanistan. She's living as a refugee in Australia, and she wants to climb Mount Everest to make a statement about Afghani women. And for her, it's the same story. She worked the night shift in a packing warehouse to save up enough money to come climb. She had a GoFundMe. She cobbled together pennies so that she had enough money to make it up to the summit of Mount Everest. And these are just three examples of women. There's all sorts of people from all economic backgrounds that have saved for years or decades that are here climbing Everest because it has great meaning for them and their lives. And I think sometimes, for me personally, when you see in the comments how people can be very dismissive of different Everest climbers, and dismissive because it sort of seems like an ultra privileged thing to do, to me sometimes that can be disheartening, because that criticism is also sort of undermining all of these other people that have struggled and worked so hard to be here. And to me, that's also what makes Everest so powerful. If we take River for an example, it's Everest as a mountain, being the tallest in the world, being so iconic. I've seen so many cases where people from really, really humble backgrounds, or people who, are kind of coming at this without a lot of experience, they climb Everest and suddenly it changes the course of their life. It puts their message out into the world in a way that climbing any other mountain couldn't. And, there's a lot of ethical issues we have to chase about. While you're on the mountain, you need to be climbing in a way that's responsible and sensible. But that's a power of this place, and it's a beauty of this place. So that's my rant about Everest myth number one. It's full of rich people. It's not. I mean, you guys have seen how I dress. And, it's definitely something that I think if we can look past that, you actually start to see the mountain for what it really is. Any questions, Andy?
There's a question of someone would like to get Mountain Queen on the show.
Yes, absolutely, Lakba. I have been, well, I don't want to say stalking, but I'm just shy of stalking Lakba Didi, trying to get her on this show. So if you all follow her on Instagram, send her a DM and say, hey, we would love for you to accept Ben's offer for an interview. Ben is very happy to walk all the way down the glacier to the camp where you're at and interview you. As soon as she gets back to me, we are going to interview her immediately. Believe me, I've been trying super hard to get that one locked in.
There's also a shout out to viewers in Memphis.
All right, viewers in Memphis. Thank you so much for joining us, and for everybody who's tuned in today for the first time. We really, really appreciate it. For those who are watching this after the fact, again, our Basecamp VIP membership allows you to get exclusive content like our interview with River and our interview with Nicole. That's going to come out. You can watch it first. And you don't have to be super rich to be a Basecamp VIP with Everest Live. And I also want to thank my friend and Dr. Louise, who is the Basecamp doctor. She held my notes today. And this is the woman who, in a couple days, is going to be taking the stitches out of my lip. So thanks, Louise. Appreciate you being here. That's great. Talk to you soon. Bye.